So you've helped save Korthos and now find yourself in Stormreach harbour. Suddenly there's a lot more to do and a lot less guidance, which is where I come in with things to do in Stormreach when you're level 2. So the first thing you might want to know is how to get back to Korthos, just in case you left some unfinished business or some friends there, and you do that by speaking to Valeria here, who gives you the option to travel back to Korthos, but we're not going to do that. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to come here and speak to Mari Mosshand, who gives you 2 collectible bags, and points you at the Spirit Binder tutorial, but I'm going to do that, so don't worry about that. Now, with these collectible bags, you want to open your inventory and go into them, and then click this Auto Gather item. The first one of them collects collectible items, which are little loot things dropped by monsters that you then hand in to item collectors. We'll come to them as soon as we have some. In this case we have some festival ones. This was a sort of Christmas event, and you just force it to gather ones you might already have by clicking the gather button. And what these bags do is they free up inventory space. This one does the same except for gems. Next thing we want to do is go up the stairs here to the leaky dinghy, and in here we're going to talk to the binder to get ourselves soulbound here, because if we die without doing this, instead of arriving back here, we'll end up back in Korthos, or even worse, on the beach where we first washed up. So we get ourselves soulbound here. You find these guys in every tavern and in some of the sort of outdoor semi-explorable areas. There's also a couple of quests here which we're going to pick up, but we're not actually going to do. We're just picking them up to save us a trip later on. Each of the quests tends to have a little bit of chatty stuff. Sometimes you can have conversations with NPCs. So we've picked up a couple of quests. Now, you may have unspent enhancement points from your time on Korthos, in which case you want to come over here to this section of the docks and look for your class trainer. In our case we're a wizard, so we speak to Kismi Middop, what daft name. And we want to spend action points on enhancements. Now, we've got 2 available, but before we spend any, we're going to click this Show Unavailable box. Put it all down to minimize the list, and what you want to do is you want to scroll down until you see the section for your class that's labelled Prestige Enhancement. If you're an elf, you'll also see Arcane Archers available regardless of your class. And what we can do here is check what prestige enhancement lines we have available and what their prerequisites are. You can pick the first one of these at level 6, and picking one line locks you out for the other. If you have 2 classes, you can pick a prestige enhancement line for each class. For instance, if I was a fighter, I could be an Archmage and a Kensai fighter, but I can't be both an Archmage and a Pale Master. So when you hover over it, it gives you the prerequisites. So we need spell points, we need more concentration, and we need to focus on the School of Magic for this. Pale Master has got far fewer prerequisites, but it's also a lot more limited than the Archmage one. What we're going to pick here is Improved Recovery, which makes it easier for us to get healed, and it's generally quite a good all-round one. Having trained, I'm now going to give you a brief tour of the facilities available in the harbour before moving on to picking up the solo quests. The first thing you'll notice are these little floating notice boards, and what they do is they point you at quests that you don't already have, or where the NPCs are hidden away in other zones. As you go up in levels, different ones become available to you. Basically they light up based on your levels. So the game never offers you quests that are too high level for you. Now as we come round here, we've got this fountain, which is sort of monument to, I think, the first people onto the server. Yeah, this is a monument to all the founding guilds in the game. Round here we have the bank. You have a character bank, and you can buy more slots in it either by spending points in the turbine store or by improving your house faction and then spending gold on it. You can also buy an account bank using points from the turbine store or by being a VIP player, and that lets you transfer bound to account items between your characters, as you can't email those to your own characters. Here we've got a weapons shop and a potions shop. The noticeable thing about the weapons shop is that you can buy quivers from from the missile weapon vendor. And so we'll just buy some bolts as well to show you how quivers work. And a thin quiver. How quivers work is, if we look in my inventory here, I've got these 3 stacks of bolts taking up space, but if I put a quiver in the slot and then tick auto gather, any arrows and bolts that I pick up will get automatically thrown into the quiver, and from the quiver, if I have an appropriate melee missile weapon equipped, they'll get loaded in, so I can continuously use them without having to manually reload until I'm out of arrows totally. So that's the bank. Now around here we have the mailbox. This is where things you mail to yourself, things that the game mails you, such as messages from the developers and things you've bought in auction, show up. You've got a confirmed tab and an unconfirmed tab. In the unconfirmed tab is where things from people you don't know at all show up, where things from your guild and things from your other characters show up in here. I don't know what that idiot's doing. Up here we have the auction house, where items are sorted by their category. You can narrow them down by level, and only recently added, you can do a text search. For instance, if we do a search for death block, we will find anything that's made of cloth and has death block on it. All of it much too high level for me. I see the minimum level here is 4. Here we have the Lobby hireling vendor. He sells hirelings up to level 3. I've already bought a cleric, but it's just basically lists the type, lists their level. You can only have a hireling up to your level, so if I bought a level 3 hireling, I wouldn't be able to use it until I myself got to level 3. Here we have the doorway to the airships. Airships are like guild houses in other games. You buy them as a guild and they can have little buff shrines set up in them that do things like increase the amount of healing you get, or the amount of XP, or just give you minor useful buffs. The last thing we have here is across this bridge. We pick up the 3rd type of ingredient bag from this chap, which is an ingredients bag. This collects ingredients for the crafting system, which is beyond the scope of this video. The reason you want all these bags is basically stop your inventory getting gunged up with all the gems and collectible items and crafting ingredients. Otherwise you'll fast run out of space, especially in quests that have a lot of monsters or a lot of chests. Anyway, that's it for now. Join me next episode where we'll be picking up the solo quests.